good evening, good evening. You know who it is. It's your boy, Dr. Woods in the house. Hey, we about to get started with season 3. Season 3. Hey, we're doing this thing. We're growing. Good to see each and every one of you today. I hope you all have had a wonderful beginning of 2026. Just want to say thank you for tuning in on today. We have a very special guest. His name is Mr. Pierre Thomas, and he's with the TheSPEDAdvocate. It's his own little business. I'm going to have Mr. Pierre come on and tell a little bit about himself. Here we go.
Liz, I really appreciate this opportunity to be here tonight and to be working.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. You know a little bit about me, but not everybody does. I spent about 20 years in the classroom with children with disabilities. Then I went from there to metro schools in the, let's call it, support position. 10 years at the Department of Children's Services as an education consultant, and then the last 5 years as a TheSPEDAdvocate is my professional background. Married 44 years, 3 boys and 8 grandkids. In my spare time, I work they're called foster care review boards in 3 different counties, Davidson, Robertson, and Sumner. I'm a surrogate parent. I'm also a CASA worker. I'm a CASA volunteer on top of it. All right. So that's all about me, Dr. Woods.
Hey, well, welcome. Just let the audience know you and I have had some, we worked together at the Department of Children's Services, then at G4S Girls Academy. We was there and just always have kept in contact. Always, always been able to use you as a reference and just watch the positive things that you're always doing to help change these kids' lives, and most importantly, to be an advocate for them. So I felt that, I said, what's a better way to start season 3 than to go here? So we're going to make it do what it do. And once again, I appreciate you coming on to the R.A.W.Approach. So let's just dive on in, man. Just go ahead and tell us first thing about special education.
Special education can be a very daunting thing for a parent to have to deal with. Always trying to figure out what their children need and what they don't need, and they want to make sure they take care of their kids. And those IEP meetings or 504 meetings can be pretty intimidating because they bring a lot of people and they use a lot of acronyms and they talk real fast, and it can be really difficult. And it usually comes out involving a child who's having difficulty anyways, having difficulty with school, having difficulty with life. And I'm there just to support them through those processes.
Correct.
Yeah, to be successful as best I can.
So go ahead. No, I'm about to say, there's always interesting cases that we have found out work with in this industry. Do you have like one specific case of your lifetime of doing this that totally stands out to you?
I've been fortunate enough, I've been alive long enough and have done this long enough that I have quite a few of them. And one thing about teachers that are out there listening, you sometimes don't know the impact you have on a student till years and years later. And sometimes you'll never know. You'll never hear it. But I'm telling you, it's appreciated. If your heart, soul, and work is into it, you're going to get the rewards that come with it. I remember I had a couple of cases with DCS where kids were just, they're struggling with life, struggling with education, and being able to put together a plan that addressed their specific disability. One of my most fun positions was being an education specialist there in Davidson County, where I had the opportunity to do a lot of hands-on stuff to give the schools the information they needed to make good decisions on behalf of the kids that we were serving. When I was in charge of juvenile justice programming for DCS, and when I went to youth development centers and looked at some of the data, at that time, about 47% of the kids that were in custody at the detention center had a recognized disability. 47%. And I honestly believe that the actual percentage was higher than that. The problem was that these kids were moved so many times, the schools never had the opportunity to determine if they qualified for services. So, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. If we had addressed some of these education issues, we probably could have prevented quite a bit of these kids going into custody and getting put in those situations. I had a girl out in Knoxville that I still stay in contact with. She's now, she was 17 years old, had 6 credits, she now is married, has her master's degree, and has turned it around. Some of these kids, if you just show them some hope and a path that makes sense, they can do something with it.
That's a very good point. Let me give you a perfect example. When I first started working at the YDC, I'm about to give my age. I started in 1999 and had this young man. I always like to call his name, but I don't want to call his name just in case, it might be embarrassing to him. But I used to always tell him, you got to stop playing this role and accept yourself for who you are, whatever your handicaps are or whatever you struggling with. Use that for your strength and ask for help. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people are embarrassed to ask for help. And which is going to get me to my next question we're going to go into, but I want to tell this story. So he finally, stopped doing the silliness and started accepting help. He finished the program, got out, never did come back to a youth development center or even any type of juvenile justice program again. And I met him at Austin Peay State University years ago at homecoming. He came up and we started talking. He said, "Mr. Woods, at the time," he said, you don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "No." He said, "I used to be at the YDC." And I said, "Well, good to see you. How you doing?" He said, "Man, I ain't going to use the choice words that you told me on that day, Mr. Woods." He said, "But it woke me up." He said, "Woke me up. And not only did I feel that you became an advocate for me," he said, "I'm now advocate for other people that struggles." And at the time he was finishing up his residency to become a psychiatrist. And he just always, we keep in touch through Facebook and social media every blue moon, just check in and let me know how you doing, his business doing. And it just show people that sometimes you being that advocate for that person may be all the avenue that they need to change it around.
You're spot on. You couldn't have articulated that better. I was today in a foster review board meeting. It's called Bright Futures. It's a program that DCS has for kids who are exiting custody but have never reunited with their family. And this young man, he's a sophomore at Tennessee Tech engineering. And I'll tell you that 5 years ago, he was in custody for 5 years. And if you looked at that young man 5 years ago, you'd have predicted his path would have not been the path he got himself on. And I asked him today, I said to him today, why are you different? What about you is different? And he said, change of the people around me, having some people counting on me, dependent on me, and had that expectation to be successful, not to be a failure. Trying to find that balance between understanding and expectation is a difficult balance sometimes. And also, like you said, Dr. Woods, accepting your gifts and accepting your deficits. We're not all built to be in the NBA. Okay?
Correct.
We all have skills, and it's getting your arms around what I'm good at and doing that. Before I got into education, I had some other jobs, and I have a poem that I read. I'll share with you sometime. But basically, it talks about, does your path have heart?
Okay.
Finding a path that has heart is the key to success for anyone. And so finding that path is really, really important.
Let me ask you that. I think that's a very good poem to share, and or even a little theory to share with a lot of people. Um, but let me ask you this, and this is for our audience, for some people that may not know. How do you identify the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan?
Okay, we only need a couple hours section to really explain the intricacies of the difference. But the biggest difference that people have to understand is a 504 plan is under that's kind of covers everything. Okay, in terms of the qualifying criteria is much larger than an IEP. An IEP, there's only certain things, certain categories you can qualify under. The biggest difference, I think, to me, is that a 504 plan provides no services per se. Okay, it offers you accommodations that you can have, like extra time on a test, or special seating, or more time to get to class, things like that. Where an IEP, you actually receive services from a provider. It may be extra help in math or reading or science. The biggest thing, the biggest thing that they both do is they both provide protection. All right. In other words, if you have a 504 plan or an IEP, you cannot be expelled, period. They can change your placement to a placement that might be more conducive and more productive, but you cannot be expelled. They have to educate you, whether it's a 504 or an IEP. But again, answering your question, services. That's the biggest difference. Okay. 504 is accommodations only. Special education is accommodations and services.
So let me ask you this. What should a parent do if they disagree with the school?
Well, hire me.
Well, I think this is a good point. You know, to hire you. What would they be getting if they hired you, though?
Well, all sarcasm aside, I am not the first place to go. The first place to go is follow the hierarchy. All right, go to the teacher. Ask for a meeting. Be nice. Okay. I know that's really, really hard sometimes, because usually we're frustrated and we're scared and we're afraid and we don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to say, have that meeting with the teacher. Talk about what they're seeing. Go there with an open heart and an open mind, and you have the meetings with them, because those teachers, the teachers are the boots on the ground. They're the ones that are doing the things like that. And I don't want to get off on a tangent here. Not yet, anyways.
Okay.
It's the problem we're having in special education is a lack of available people to provide the services. This is not Tennessee. This is countrywide, and it's really hard. They don't have enough people to do the job that needs to be done. So what you've got to do is you have to have some empathy to that situation. But at the same time, when they say we can't do it, once they have that IEP of the 504 plan, you smile and you say, I really feel bad for you, but that's not my problem. It's your problem to solve. All right. So it's just, follow that hierarchy, go to the teacher if that doesn't work, and say, listen, we need more help. Can we get the guidance counselor involved? Can we get the administration involved? Because we need to work together, because what's happening now is not working. Okay. And also there's a thing called RTI, which is called response to intervention. And that's for kids that they're behind, but not way behind. They may take those tests and score in the 30th percentile. And this is a time, it's for all kids in regular education, not necessarily kids with disabilities. And what has to happen with there is they have to try to see if the problem is that they have certain skills that they have not yet acquired, and work towards those skills. And most parents are going to say, 30th percentile? You mean to say that my kid's 20% below average? Yeah, but it doesn't mean they qualify for special ed. So in answering your question, go to the teacher, then ask for help from the guidance counselor, then help from the administration. And if they just give you constant pushback that makes no sense, then reach out to an advocate. Because it's really, really important that you maintain that relationship with the school to the greatest ability that you can, that it's positive and productive for all time. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Which brings me to this point here. When do you identify, or when should a parent identify the perfect time to say, hey, I done everything I can do. I need an advocate on my side.
Your child continues on a downward path, academically, behaviorally, and it's not changing. All right. You recognize and you deal with the deficit areas, and still the testing scores go down, the grades continue to go down, the behaviors continue to increase, and the school kind of says to you, "There's nothing more we can do." Okay. Well, yes, there is. Okay. When the path continues in a negative direction, and you've tried everything, quote unquote, everything, that's a good time to ask for an advocate.
Okay.
All right.
So let me ask you this. I want to jump off just a little bit, but on the same tangent.
Sure.
I've been in the industry for over 32 years. And what I have started to notice within the last 5 years or so, coming from dealing with behavior facilities, there's a lot of now within the last 5 years that's dealing with the mental health of that youth being attached. And because of that, it is finding hard. The treatment services is different, and you got to find different avenues. And I think that's a time where they really have more different perspectives and more need for an advocate. So in these situations, you have dealt with the juvenile justice perspective. You understand the education. You understand the mental health. What is your perspective on the youth that go to more than a mental health facility, but they really have outstanding behavior issues, which sometimes gets overlooked? The mental health gets overlooked. Give me your take on that.
Well, the amount of trauma that our kids are dealing with today that we finally recognize as having an effect on all parts of their life is huge. That's why having those trauma-informed specialists, those therapists that can actually address specifically how to deal with trauma,
Correct.
and the trauma's effect on the brain, and how that affects the brain and how that affects behavior. These are kids that are bad kids. They're dealing with a chemical change in their brains that took place because of trauma. All right. Now, the thing is, though, is that you can have trauma and you can have mental health issues, but the solution is not necessarily special ed. It might be, but not necessarily. Some of the bigger districts, especially Metro Davidson, they try really, really hard. They can't get nearly the amount of the specialists they need. But those trauma-informed specialists are so valuable to those kids that have been through things. Mental health is it's a double-edged sword, Dr. Woods, because not only do we recognize the realness of these things, sometimes these people are not. Occasionally, it's not really that bad. Usually, you know what I'm saying? Let me be delicate about this. All right, anxiety. Okay, anxiety is a big word. People have anxiety. Well, anxiousness is part of life.
Correct.
But when it's debilitating, and it can be, and it takes a professional to recognize the difference, those types of anxiety need to be addressed by a professional. Medication, not the first path. Medication it's like high blood pressure. You have high blood pressure, first thing you do is you don't take a bunch of pills. First thing you do is you watch your salt, you get some exercise, and you lose weight. But then if you still have high blood pressure, take the medicine. You know what I'm saying? The same thing is true with mental health issues. Get a therapist, get counseling, get support. But sometimes we need more because it's a chemical thing that's taking place, not a willful thing. And a lot of people don't understand that. They say, if you just sucked it up, you'd be okay. Well, no, not always. Sometimes it's stuff you got to deal with. But mental health services is a huge thing in the world, but especially in school. We go off on a tangent about COVID and how that's actually it's made it worse because we were forced to deal with things. Then all of a sudden we stayed home a lot. And then we no longer had to deal with some of the things that are going on in the world. And so some of the kids are still struggling with their mental health educational issues post-COVID. So how's that going?
Yeah. Perfect. So, one of the viewers is sharing a situation with us. Thank you for sharing, Markeisha. She said, it's been difficult finding the assistance for my little brother with Downs. The mental facilities can assist him, but states he doesn't belong here. Yet we're having issues finding assistance.
Okay. Finding assistance within the school system or assistance period? What do you, it's, sometimes the assistance can be found in the school system. It's out there, but I think it's getting yourself connected to that school counselor or Googling the therapist within the system. Like again, the big systems, the Williams.
She says both. Quote, she said both. Yeah.
Both. Yeah. Yeah. It's, especially depending on your insurance.
Yeah.
So, if you're waiting for insurance, it seems like the TennCare is not as supportive as some of the other ones are. You just have to be persistent. You gotta be persistent, and there are also advocates out there that can deal with that. That's another area of advocacy in the general community. But again, once you've done those steps and gone through with it, get an advocate. They can help you encourage the school system to do what needs to be done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for answering that. Yep. Let me go off on a little tangent. You've been doing this for many, many years. So let me ask you, what do you do? Just slide off this, what I like to ask everybody. What do you do for work-life balance?
I work very hard and I play. I play very hard. Okay. We travel a lot. We own some land that I have to take care of. I love to learn new things. All right. I like right now currently reading the chronological Bible just because I'm interested in how the chronology goes. But it's Dr. Woods, you have got to have that. You have got to have internal peace to be successful anywhere. I'll tell you that it was hard when I had kids at home.
Yes.
Because it's just, it's being a grandparent is so much easier than being a parent because you give them back.
You give them back.
And you got I've got many, many decades of experience. But you have got to take care of yourself. It's kind of like that thing on the airplane. Grab that mask first. Because if you don't grab that mask first, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of everything else. You can't. First, you've got to accept the fact you cannot do it all. All you can do is the best you can do. And that's something you can teach your kids too, is to not be afraid to ask for help, accept help when you can, and just do the best you can. So my work-life balance is cruise, vacation, and having, those kind of things. All right.
Sounds good to me. It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And but I think the reality of this is that no matter who you talk to and the people you talk to, there's some people that have came to the perspective in life that I had to find a work-life balance for myself. Then there are some people saying that they still trying to figure it out. There's not one age yet. I haven't done no research in that where one age have figured it out more than other, but I think it comes with a lot of experience and knowing what's important for you. You know what I'm saying? So I would like thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I know for me, sometimes I just like to get to myself. If I get to the lake, Percy Priest Lake, and just chill and just watch the water and Man, that's my piece. Get to the gym early in the morning now. 5 o'clock is my thing now. Or just coming home and doing nothing, just unplugging. I think unplugging is very important.
I agree. I don't do 5 o'clock in the morning though. You're on your own there. But then again, you might find me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and also, but what we've done though, you and I, is we've followed our bodies and our minds and our hearts to take us to where we need to go to be happy.
To be happy and get that peace. There ain't nothing like that peace. Well, I'm about to come back to you, dealing with the TheSPEDAdvocate. Can you let the audience know how they can reach you? And what exactly is the TheSPEDAdvocate? Where is it? A website that they can find, and whatever it is. Talk to the folks. Tell them about the TheSPEDAdvocate.
You can email me at per@thespedadvocate.org. You can call me 615-337-6810. I'm an open book, and we'll share this information available later on. I have a website, a Facebook page, and an Instagram, although I don't spend as much time there as I should. Most of the districts in Middle Tennessee, forget most of them, all of them. I've worked with them. If you go to school, and you probably go to a school and say, how do I get a hold of Pierre Thomas? And they can usually tell you how to do that. And I need to tell you something. I got to keep it a secret, though. I don't charge everybody. Okay? About 40% of my work is pro bono. So if there's somebody out there that says, boy, I'd love to hire this guy, I just don't have any money right now. If I can, I will. For those of you that have money, I charge $60 an hour. And I will tell you that, not to be vain, but I'm worth every penny of it. Okay?
Yeah.
What I don't do due process. I don't do administrative complaints. I have a couple of attorneys that I have a tremendous amount of respect for that can do that. And they're very, very good at what they do. And I've got about 5 of them in different parts of Middle Tennessee that I can refer you to. All right. And they're bulldogs. Okay. And I love them for it, because it's all about the kids. And there are going to be cases, and there are going to be times when you just have to do that. But it has to be a last resort. When I go to a meeting, if I go to a meeting and I don't talk much, that means things are going really well. Okay. I don't get paid by the words that I say. I get paid by the outcomes that I get. All right. Sometimes just having an advocate there makes a huge difference.
People move a little different.
Yeah. I was in a meeting yesterday for a parent that was trying so hard to get just get their kid tested. This kid had multiple medical diagnosis from reputable hospitals, but he was doing pretty well. Okay. And the school wasn't being mean. They're just like, he's just not doing poorly enough to go to that next level. But we had the administration there and talking and listening, and they finally agreed that, listen, yes, he qualifies for a 504. And after the meeting, I'm talking to the administrator, and I said, look, I know you're doing most of these things anyways, but having this piece of paper takes it to the next level. Then it makes everybody have to do it, not volunteer to do it. And she just smiled and she said, I know, and you also understand this too. I have a son that's an administrator, and they support their staff. They do. Sometimes it seems like, are you not listening to me? Are you not hearing this? But a boss has a responsibility to support their staff.
Yes.
So the course of action is frequently going to be just that. Well, and so, it's not that this is a terrible administrator. It's that he's supporting his staff. But those administrators also understand what they have to do when encouraged properly. Makes sense?
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the information with the audience, and hoping if somebody really needs you, that they would reach out to you. And if they need it pro bono, I pray to God that they can get it. If they can pay for it, y'all need to pay for it. Stop trying.
I don't. Yeah, I don't mind the money at all.
Exactly. Well,
and also, my initial consultation is usually by Zoom, 30 minutes. That's always free. And I would work really hard to work myself out of a job. Because if I hear a story and the parents are just close, it might just mean I can give them, listen, try this, do that, do this, do that. And if that doesn't work, then get back to me.
Correct.
And if I get one that's like, you're going to have to go next level, I'm going to tell you too.
Well, I like to always give my audience a chance. Is there anything that you want to ask me before we wrap this up?
No, just to have the opportunity. I am blessed to be able to do what I love. I'm fortunate enough to have done it long enough and have enough passion for it that I've gotten pretty good at it. I have a relationship with all school districts that's positive and productive. One last thing.
Take your time. I'm going to give you the closing remarks. So go ahead.
School boards, directors of schools, do not make decisions with regard to special education in 504. Okay? Those decisions are made by the teacher, the principal, the parent, the special ed teacher, and you can sometimes be in a meeting and central office is there. In fact, I was at a meeting once about 3 months ago, and I said, they were talking about all the different ways that they could meet this child's needs and doing this and doing that. And I smiled and looked at them and I said, yeah, but you don't get to vote. You know what I'm saying? So, those central office support people are there to help. They're not there to alleviate services and get away around from services, but they've got a job to provide service. And the law says this: you have to provide services for a child with a disability in the least restrictive environment. Okay, which means they've got to do everything they can to take care of your child with a disability and keep him with other children that do not have a disability. Now that's a double-edged sword. The double-edged sword because if it's a skill deficit, you need specialized teaching. Special ed teachers, and I was one, are not the best at teaching content. All right, they're the best at teaching skills. And so, you don't want to have your kids get too much service because that keeps them away from the content. But then also going back to what we talked about before is that what's your child actually going to be? Are they going to be a point guard in the NBA? Well, then maybe that's not where we want to spend. Maybe he could play in high school. So then do everything you can to make him the best high school point guard that can be. But it's having yourself maintain a skill set that's going to make you successful in life because the ultimate goal is independence. You want your child to be as independent as possible as an adult. So you need to put together programs that can develop that independence to the greatest opportunity possible. I need to get up on. You ever watch Green Acres? Green Acres. I got to get up on my soapbox and go dun 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 dun. But I maintain a passion for this. You warned me that sometimes when you freeze, I should just keep talking. One other thing as we're talking while I wait to become unfrozen. When the federal government created IDEA, which is the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, which is a law that requires what schools have to do to provide services for children with disabilities. They made that promise, and the promise was that we will fund 40% of the cost of those services. Never have they gotten above 14%. Currently, they're at about 12%, which means the only way that they can get the services they need is that when the local government, local towns, local counties, and the state, they're making up that difference. So special education is costing the states and the school districts a fortune because, in my humble opinion, the federal government's not doing their part. Right? So next time you vote or next time you talk to your legislator or congressman and say, look, where do you stand on fully funding IDEA? I can tell you that in the entire state of Tennessee, there is only one representative that's voted in favor of it. Okay? And the reason is because if you provide these services, you're going to have to raise taxes. Okay, you raise taxes, you don't get reelected. All right, so it's but if you're going to write these laws and require schools to do things, you're going to require the funding to do it.
Exactly.
So there's that.
All right, then I'm going to leave you to give us what is this thing? Closing remarks. I'm sorry. Give the audience a closing remark, a famous saying that you like to say, or share with them something that they can use.
Does your path have heart? The path for yourself, the path for your child, the path for your business world, does it have heart? Are you doing the right things for the right purpose, doing the right things for the right reason? Be your child's greatest advocate. Know that your child always has your back. Kids need your support. Everyone needs your support. So be your child's greatest advocate. Do not be afraid to know that you don't know everything. I'm many, many years old, and it's amazing how often I realize how much I don't know. If you're older, reach out to somebody younger. Younger people know a lot. Those people that are 20 years younger than me, 25 years younger than me, their education, their processing, their technology, they know so much more. If you're younger, reach out to somebody older. We've done a lot of things. Pretty much everything you're going through, we've gone through it. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't try so hard that you don't allow yourself to get the supports that you
absolutely
need. Free 30 minutes. I'll be glad to talk to you if I can. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk. Thank you, Dr.
Hey, no problem. I thank you for coming on. And I have enjoyed it, and we're going to do it again. And also, we want to get your wife on the show and talk about some other things that she deals with hospice care, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she wrote a book called "The Myths and Realities of Hospice." And
yes, I think that'll be a great one. And so, once again, thank you, Mr. Pierre Thomas, for joining us. And I really appreciate your time and your knowledge that you have shared with the audience. Hey, like I said, season 3 is on.
Absolutely.
There's more to come. I thank you all for joining in. And my thing I would like to share with you all today is when one door closes, another door may close, and another door may close. But one day, one door that you need will open. Don't get discouraged. Trust the process. Thank you for joining in. And remember, small victories lead to greater success. I am Dr. Woods, and you have just been hit by the R.A.W.Approach. Peace out.